All right. Uh, First, I'll identify that we have a quorum as Rick Jones, Susan Worth, Todd Libdell, and Mike Kresge, Bob Hatch, and Steph Friend are in attendance. So I will call the meeting to order. And the first thing I'll do relative to the legality of Zoom meetings, read the preamble. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open space meeting law and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Hubbardston Open Space Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town website. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via Zoom. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website a comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. End of preamble.
It's rounded.
Good. So that being said, I identified the members and also Katie Young, a guest and select board member, is in attendance. And we'll start with the minutes that Rick has sent out. And so are there any comments, additions, corrections, et cetera, to those minutes?
Was this a while ago? When did you send them out, Rick?
Right after the
Probably about 4 or 5 days after the meeting, so
Okay.
Yeah,
April 4th or 5th.
It wasn't the usual 3 or 4 days ahead of time, which is better than what Bob does. It was, I recall it was a rainy day activity.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Give me a second, I can tell you, Mark.
Yeah, I kind of remember. Oh, there they are. I got them.
You got him?
Well, let's take a second to go over that. That's faster than reading them. And
Tim at the DCR still needs to change his last name, but
Mark, could you turn up your volume maybe a bit, or maybe,
We can.
or we can? Okay.
a mic is a mic.
So is everybody okay with that? What's everybody's reading them?
yeah, I think it's fine. Just do the usual changing Tim Culkeen's name.
Yeah, how do you spell it again, Mark?
I think it's
Culkeen?
No, Tim.
Culkeen.
Correct.
Culkeen. Okay, got it. Was there anything else?
I don't think so.
All right. Do I,
Drop me a note if there is, Mark.
Okay.
with that being said, do I hear a motion to accept the minutes as amended with the correct spelling of Tim Culkeen's name?
I move that we accept the minutes after the amendment on Culkeen's spelling.
Second? Anyone?
I second.
second by Steph. And again, I'll use my protocol. If I hear no objections, then I will consider the minutes accepted as amended unanimously. Any objections? So moved, accepted. Okay, going down my agenda, treasurer's report.
Okay, open space account is $248.34, $248.34. The rider account is $4,191.32. The Hubbardston Preservation Trust is $13,204.88. No changes basically for several months. So,
All right, that's good, and that sounds about right. Thank you. The old business update on Fieldstone property. Rick, you've been taking minutes and notes on that. I'll let you talk to that.
Excuse me. So we had since the last meeting, we had a nice walk with a group of folks that we had scheduled for April 24th, was it?
Correct.
And the idea of that was for interested parties to come and see the property, ask questions, et cetera. We had several people there that were some from Pinecrest, and Todd and Alice were there. So that was one of the things we had already planned. The next walk is scheduled for the 22nd of May. We're going to do that again. Hopefully we'll get a few more people. In addition, Susan has been going to several town events. She's been at the senior center for the egg handout. She and I were both and Sarah McMaster were all at the town cleanup this past Saturday, and got several people interested. And where else were you, Suze?
oh, Katie, what was the thing? That was the Girl
The
Scouts.
Girl Scouts, yeah.
No, that was the recycle, the Boy Scouts recycling, right, Katie?
Boy
That-
Scout.
that- Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So we've been getting some questions that have been asked or comments that have been made on social media. Katie's been getting some questions, she told us. So we put together, at Katie's suggestion, a Fieldstone Farm facts page, which actually ended up being a page and a half. But the point of that was to get all the accurate information out there on Fieldstone Farm, what it is, how it's being funded, who East Quabbin Land Trust is, how CPA funds are used and what they're used for. What else? And what the plans are
You went to a page.
for going forward for Fieldstone Farm. What's that?
Go ahead.
What the plans were going forward for Fieldstone Farm, if the warrant article does pass. Also included how it's being funded. So we wanted to get the information out there to inform people who've been asking questions, clarify some, we'll call it misinformation that's been out there. And Katie was kind enough to offer to post that on the social media sites that the town has. There's 4 or 5 of them, I think. But and I don't visit social media very often, so I was kind of her to do that. So I sent that over to her yesterday. That's pretty much where we are, Bob.
Well,
Let's
two
see.
more meetings too. Tomorrow night, Concom, are you and Steph going to be at Concom then on the Fieldstone tomorrow? Do you know for sure?
I will be there.
There's-
I don't think Steph's
Oh,
gonna,
okay, so,
but I will be there.
okay, but representation. And I finalized with Susan Rain to be on the finance meeting tomorrow. And Rick, I don't know, maybe he'll straddle both or something. So those two
Oh, that-
committees will have been informed and enveloped.
The finance meeting committee is tomorrow night also.
Right,
Yep.
right.
And I had sent something to Seaman, what's her first name?
Mallory,
Mallory. I had sent something to Mallory several weeks ago and didn't hear a response. So I sent about being on the Concom agenda. And then even a second time, Mallory missed it or something, but I did get in touch with her today and she's going to make sure that we're on the agenda for the Concom tomorrow night. And that's simply, that's analogous to the purpose as it relates to the select board, except with the Concom, I put 3 agenda items on there just to communicate with them that we are putting out the flyer, et cetera, relative to the Fieldstone property, the Geordie Lane land management plan, and just our activities up at Mount Jeff, of which we'll talk a little bit about that more tonight. But the main thing that this committee had already talked about was what do we want to do around the foundation? And we'll talk more about that, but I can also bring up just the Jassy Meadow aspect of things. So so we are on the agenda tomorrow night with Concom.
I looked at their posted agenda prior to today, and they've got a pretty full docket of public hearings for notice of intents.
Yeah, I saw several. Yeah, I did that too, Mark. There were several notices.
You may want to try and focus down on the most important things because I doubt they're gonna.
I'll just try and get through the quick things on that. But what I did get from Mallory, but I should let's see, Bob, mind your words. I did send Mallory all the documents. The likelihood of those being reviewed prior to tomorrow is on the slim side, so I'll be nice. We'll go over those and I'll try and get through them quickly. And maybe the fact that they've got other things on the agenda will expedite maybe some side comments at that meeting. So, but anyway, we are on the agenda with Concom and FinCom tomorrow night, right?
correct.
Right.
Right down to the finish line,
Rick, you're
which
gonna-
was, oh,
Rick, you're going to handle the FinCom?
No, Susan.
Oh,
Susan and I
Susan.
will be there.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just really, a courtesy to let them know where things stand with the Fieldstone Farm project and answer any questions they might have. I don't plan to make any kind of presentation or anything.
absolutely. That's the same thing with what we did with the select board as well as what we plan tomorrow night for Concom as it relates to the Fieldstone property. I know I owed you something, Rick, relative to a few words on the environmental aspects of the Fieldstone property. Is it too late to provide an input to that?
Well, we handed out some this weekend and Katie was going to, maybe already has posted them on social, posted it on the social media sites. But if you have any, send them. We can always.
Yeah, no, I've been following that well, getting information from Paul
Catanzaro.
Catanzaro. A lot of the feedback is you don't need more open space, et cetera. And my response and what I would put into that info that I would contribute to that is that New England, if I just look at New England relative to controlling climate control, the New England, the major input or the major factor relative to getting control of climate control or climate changes is forests. And the New England is losing approximately 28,000 acres of forest a year. And surprisingly, Massachusetts is a very close second to Maine. Somewhere in the Massachusetts, I think, is somewhere in the 7,400 acres, 7,400 acres range of losing forest a year. Maine is first at a little over 8,000 acres. And then the other states are notably behind that. Some places relative to people saying we have enough open space, maybe enough open forest, that's sort of a corollary. This is definitely mostly forest land. Some places, Worcester, Boston, all metropolitan areas, they're not going to contribute anything towards carbon storage and carbon sequestration and contribute to the solution to climate change. And those towns, places that can contribute need to contribute. You know, if you take a parochial view, then you're not going to help the planet and the world. And the all the presentations, and we attend as many of the webinars as we can put on by Joy Ryu and other organizations. The picture for climate control is not good, as well as many other things, you know, biodiversity, et cetera, that land preservation includes. So those would be some of the highlights of what I would put into that frequently asked questions thing that you're talking about, Rick. And Mark, you got any other? I mean, you're a forestry guy. You got any other contributions towards that theme?
No, not really, not at the moment. Yeah, I mean, I think that is a worthy point that the areas that have the ability to bank substantial quantities of carbon sort of have a responsibility to do so if they can do so without major sacrifice.
Okay, Katie got tuned in on this one.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. Normally I will keep my mouth shut, which is usually
No, that's not what you're here for, Katie.
Yeah. So I did talk to Rick and Susan about this, and I'm gonna one up you on your sales pitch. So your sales pitch is great. Don't get me wrong on open space, because I think we do need it. And I think it would also help with some of, especially Hubbardson residents that feel we're already getting overpopulated with traffic and, you know, houses and all this other stuff. But the flip side to this is the EDC is kind of pivoting the town to be an ecotourism kind of venue with hiking and biking and kayaking. Come here, you know, see our farms, go kayaking at Comet. come get something to eat, stop and get gas, come do the light fight, come do this, come do that, and then spend your money while you're here. And then maybe where they're trying to work on Airbnbs and possibly some wedding venues and things like that. But the open space with the hiking trails and stuff like this ties right into that ecotourism. And ecotourism is huge right now. It's, you know, it's the same as buy local, you know, it's right up there with popularity. So you might want to think about throwing that in your sales pitch for this whole deal. And I did go into length with this to Rick on the phone over the weekend about this. And I feel like that
Yeah.
might be some helpful tips, especially when you're trying to, those people that, oh, we have enough open space. This might be the avenue they see the light. You know what I mean? So just food for thought. You guys do what you want to do, but just food for thought.
Any input like that, Katie, is extremely valuable. And then just, I know Rick's tied into some of the other economic benefits of open space, of which you're alluding to or talking about. The open space brings in money. And I know the counter arguments are that, well, that property over there is going to bring people in from routes that don't bring them through the center of Hubbardston, where they might stop and buy things and things like that. I know that's what Rick has mentioned in some of his, or Richard Haddad has mentioned in some of his counter arguments, that it's such a corner of the property that that's not really a relevant point. But, and I like your one comment about water, and it links into something that who's the guy that wanted the water trails?
Tom Robinson.
A potential, he said, what about water trails? And not just doing things on the lakes, but doing something that takes you down the Ware River, the West Branch of the Ware River. Yeah, headed
Yeah,
down.
he was talking about the
towards
West
River.
Branch.
So, what's that, Mark?
He was talking about the West Branch.
Yeah, that was something that we as a committee could explore for anybody that's got kayaks. Mark, you got kayaks?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, have you ever tried that?
No.
It looks like it might. It looks like it might require, from the little bit that I've seen, it looks like it might require a little bit of getting out and into the water to get through some of the obstacles that you got there.
It might require a chainsaw, but I've got one of those too.
Hey, now, I'd get in a position, I'd go with you with another kayak, and you could cut through it, and I'd be taking pictures while it'd be interesting, you cutting along either in the water or from your kayak to get through it. Because I've gone down rivers and streams that all of a sudden you come to a log or tree across the thing and say, now what do I do? And the only thing you can do is get out of the kayak
Portage.
and somehow get over the obstacle. But it would be really a neat thing relative to Katie's thing to have a water trail.
So Bob, just before we get off that topic, after talking to Katie about it on the phone last week and then yesterday, I did use her idea on that in the fact sheet. I put a sentence in there. Actually, I like the word ecotourism.
Tourism.
Ecotourism, Katie.
Tourism is better. Yeah.
But I put something in there about the Economic Development Committee pivoting their approach to promoting Hubbardston in that way, and added that to the fact sheet after talking to Katie.
Those are great buzzwords, though. I haven't heard that. Then it makes sense. Ecotourism.
The one,
And by the way, folks, the finish line. Wait a minute, just one sec. I just want to get this out before I forget. I looked at the website, and the annual town meeting is going to be at Center School. So that's been settled. fairly recently. It's 6:30 at the center school, just so we know, okay? It's out there.
Good.
What's up?
Let's see, I just had one thought, but I forget what the thought was.
Sorry about
That goes with the territory. The, any other comments on the Fieldstone property? I mean, I'll make one comment, and actually it's in, related to it. One of the issues has been parking, and I know Rick has got comments on that. Right now, the current plans relative to address that concern by Richard Haddad and a couple other people is it will be some parking for somewhere between 2 to 4 vehicles on the Henry Grove side, and then a comparable amount on the new Fieldstone side. So that would accommodate somewhere in the 4 to 8 vehicle range. And I have clarified with Cynthia that if there's much more usage than maybe is anticipated on a daily basis, that there is a room for some substantial improvement over there. But if you look at what we see up at Mount Jeff, which is pretty visible and one of the main highlights of our open space in Hubbardson, I don't recall ever seeing anything in the order of magnitude of 8 vehicles up there, except on special events like I don't know, a Bay State Trail ride or something. So, and with that, any other comments on Fieldstone? All right, let's go to new business topics. I'm on the agenda relative to continuing work at the Gates Mansion area. I am on the agenda to bring up the topic of removal of the concrete rubble, if you would. It's the rubble up there is it certainly wouldn't meet today's building standards, because the footings by no means are 4 feet below ground. So they're roughly 2 feet deep, and they're broken into sections. I have not gotten through to who's the highway DPW?
Travis?
Travis. I haven't got through to Travis. I will follow up on that. But the tentative plan is to take that out and see if Travis is a mechanism for getting rid of it, if we get it out of there, and the potentially take it over to Graves for concrete recycling. So that's what the discussion will be with the board. Rick, have you had any follow-up with the Historical Society or any on regard to that?
No, they've got a meeting this month, and I'm going to attend that and get their input, if there is any, and let them know what the plan is, or at least what we've got as a plan so far.
Because after looking at it again, if things are all cleared and no growth up there, relative to maintaining it close to the foundation, it would be easier if that all could be mowed. That's not viable with all that concrete rubble, so it'd be very difficult, or a lot more work to keep things from growing back up. But if we could reduce the size of the footprint to the old stone foundation and make it so that you could at least mow around that, which may require a load of loam or something, then that would make it a whole lot easier to maintain that foundation in its current state. So that was the thinking of the people that went up there. That was Rick, Susan, Steph, and myself were up there.
Wait, Susan's got her hand up.
Susan.
I'm waving back and forth here. On the fencing, the split rail fence that's left there, didn't we decide that it could be utilized? It's right, it just needs to be shored up? Yes, no, was there any, I remember some
Yeah.
discussion on that.
That's correct, Susan, as another level of detail on that. The only place that must have been cleared at one point in time. And the only place where there is a really substantial drop off is in the location of where that split rail fencing is. And there it probably drops in the 8-foot range, plus or minus a little bit, a clear drop. And that everything, the posts and rails appeared to be in sound condition. So the idea was to take it out, but they're obviously tilted and maybe some of the rails dropped out or something, but that could be reinstalled, salvaged, good word, stuff. That could be salvaged and put back in place without minimal cost, if that's the only place that we added, that we plan to put fencing.
And just to add to that, I will have access to some more split rail fencing, both the lateral and the posts, because at a condo meeting the other day, I have a unit over in Leominster still, and they wanted to take it down at the entrance. And so instead of having to pay for it, I said, Rick and I will come and get it and put it in the truck. So we just have to do it. I would say about, I don't know, 10 or 12 sets of things. So,
There's not that many. Steve.
well, six on each side.
There's about 20. Oh, right, both sides?
Yes.
Oh, okay, she's right.
Yeah, she's right. I know, it's amazing.
So we've got materials.
Anyway, so that will happen soon. And-
So we have material. Well, so we have materials to extend that fence to the rest of the way where that steep drop off is, without any cost at all.
That sounds great. Let's see, any other comments on that foundation?
I just think
So-
it looks, that you can see the tree and it's just beautiful. We just need to, clear up some of the junk and it's like a different place. It's really nice.
Todd
I think.
and Alice were up there this weekend,
Getting junk.
picking up junk right in the foundation too.
I was surprised that there wasn't more. Somebody has cleaned up that place since we took out some of those trees in there. I don't know who it was, but it looks a lot better than it did.
Wow.
Really? So how, was that magic? Who did that?
What are you talking about, Todd? Like beer bottles and cans?
Yeah, cans and trash. There used to be part of an oil drum that was in there. I didn't see that the other day.
Wow.
But
Is that you, Mark?
Oh, no, not me.
That's great.
it still doesn't look great, but it's not a litter pile like I expected it to see it. So
All right, that
Good.
sounds good. And the tentative plan relative to the concrete, I just, some of the sections of concrete are broken, and spit it out, Bob. From what I have been able to manipulate with the combination of the backhoe, and in this case, I'd use front forks on the tractor to pick up those chunks and put them where the town could then subsequently pick them up and put them in the back of a truck or something to get rid of them. And if Graves will take it to recycle it, then that would be an ideal solution. No other comments on Gates Foundation? We did take a walk down in the Jassie's Meadow area. And what we noted, and I think we found what Todd was referring to on the north end of that was just a natural open spot. But the other thing that was evident,
South end.
say that again?
yeah, I think south.
South End?
It's stuff,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that. There was a central pathway through it, but then we also just did a perimeter walk of which the trees are relatively sparse and of very small diameter, uh, rarely anything approaching 3 inches. So what we thought, in lieu of just trying to turn it back into a meadow, was to maybe make a perimeter loop with a central loop so that it would make just a convenient, easy, simple walk for people.
Ah,
Rick and Susan, you can clarify that if you would, if you have any other comments.
It was just a natural spot and it's not too far down the trail. So for kids, it's a doable thing. So it seems like you were right, Todd. It will make a nice natural place. And you could even use some of the stumps. What was it that was odd about it? There were so many of those flat areas. Oh, the rocks on top of the stumps. Somebody thought that was lots of fun.
Yeah, I don't know, Mark, you may have hiked down in there, probably in at least 6 spots. Somebody, whoever was down there, had to have been like with a backhoe that must have had a thumb, because they were able to pick these up and precisely put them, and it wasn't me. There must have been like 5 or 6 spots where somebody found a rock that they wanted to make readily refindable, and they put them on top of a stump. So, but that's sort of an anecdote, I guess, that doesn't have too much to do with the trail, but it was an interesting aspect to it.
It was almost like a natural picnic table, though. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Todd.
I wouldn't use it as a picnic table, but
Yeah.
And if anything, we would want to knock those off. I don't know. I didn't just check the stability of those, but you wouldn't want anything that if you did invite kids or other people down there, that could knock a rock off a stump and have it land on somebody else's foot. But
So my question, I guess, is what trees there were, I would consider almost brush. I mean, they're to make a perimeter trail there. And I guess this question for Mark is, what kind of permission would we need to get from DCR to do a little perimeter trail around there?
Well,
Because somebody's actually
I
already
mean, basically, we're
cut a
not
trail
allowed,
right through the.
basically, we're not allowed to create any trails anywhere at Mount Jeff.
Well, somebody has cut a trail from where it comes off of behind the chimney right through the middle of it. I mean, there's a a pretty wide, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet wide swath right through the middle of it to get back to that cleared area that we're talking about.
I mean, it's already
Yeah.
there.
Recently cleared?
And
well,
it,
not within the last month or two, but
no, this was.
go ahead, Rick.
I was going to say this, when we were there on April 3rd, that's what was there. And you could say, well, some of it maybe got blown down by the wind, but there was too much of it. And it was, a lot of it was still green. So when it happened, whether it was last fall or earlier this year, somebody's been down there. And it's all stuff that's, a 1/4 inch, Mark. It's not any big stuff.
When we talked a while ago, we had talked about even having the forest mulcher go down through there. And I thought the conversation was something along the lines that we would need permission from somebody to be able to clear that out to return it to a meadow.
Yeah, that's a conversation we would have to have with water supply.
Is that water supply or state forest or Parks and Rec?
No, it's the um, uh, the name is escaping me for the moment, but essentially the conservation restriction that water supply holds on Mount Jeff.
Okay,
So we did, I mean, I've been in contact with Danny Almeida, who is the coordinator for their WPR, watershed protection restriction.
yep,
Um, I talked to her when we were submitting or I emailed with her when we were submitting the Trails Grant application.
yep.
And said we might want to talk to her about other stuff up there. So I think I mean, if we have some concrete ideas at this point, then I think the move is to invite her to come out sometime when it's convenient for her and take a look at the area and see what they might be comfortable with.
Okay, said Danielle Almeida?
Yeah.
Okay. Where does Tim Culkeen's boundary come into that?
Tim is the state forest, which starts about halfway down the Gates Hill Trail.
Okay,
And you can see the state forest boundary as you're going down behind the chimney. As you start getting down, once you get off the small recent cut part of the trail and get back onto the old woods road,
yep,
headed down towards Canesto Brook Trail.
yep, yep.
Over to the right, you'll see a blue blazed
Okay,
property line through there. That's also the state forest.
okay, so one side is state forest and one side is watershed.
Yes.
Okay,
I mean,
Yeah.
it's town land, but
yeah, town
Water-
land, but watershed owns the CR on it.
right.
Okay, yeah, because that's essentially what you're talking about. When Steph and I did a boundary walk with the CR folks, from the state, we did do exactly about what you're talking about. We went down Gates Hill, got down almost to the Canesto Brook Trail, and then kind of bushwhacked actually over to Gates Hill. So we didn't even get we bushwhacked entirely over
Came
to
down
it.
behind the chimney.
Went down behind the chimney, almost to the Canesto, bushwhacked over to, following the tags, over to Gates Hill. And then on that particular walk, that was as far as they wanted to go relative to trying to follow the blue flags. I don't think the blue flags follow Gates Hill, but we just walked up Gates Hill the rest of the way.
Yeah.
So,
So anyway, anything in the southwest corner
okay,
of Mount Jeff is town land and under restriction.
okay,
As you get into the trails over by Cross and Mill Pond, that's all state forest land.
okay. All right, I get that. Now, that CR, is there any potential open door to be able to do anything there?
Well,
I mean, my recollection of the last conversation we had is that it seemed like it was possible, depending upon, it seemed like it was more pertinent to the size of the growth. And at this point in time, the growth is at a certain point where it's not restoring a meadow, it's beyond that.
Yeah, well, the language that I struggle with in the restriction, and I haven't had this conversation with Danny yet. But there is a provision in there that says if an area has come up into early successional growth, then you're not allowed to turn it back into a field. And I think the intent for that was primarily to prevent turning land into a hayfield or a agricultural type field. I'm not sure it'll really be enforced that way for a minor little meadow type thing.
What's it,
We just haven't had that conversation.
what's the definition of, I have the good general concept of early successional, but what particular parameters associated with early successional would be relevant to that property?
I mean, it's basically all the birch and aspen and all that type of stuff that comes in first.
And does it have to be a certain size or?
And yeah, I don't know if there's a cut and dried definition.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at relative to, because that may be, I think from what is there now, that would probably be relatively clearly in the early successional stage.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you look at the existing forest management plan, aren't there recommendations for actual logging of certain parts of that land?
Yeah.
So if it's okay to log, why would it not be okay to clear out early successional areas?
Yeah,
I think-
that's right, and that's the avenue, or that's one of the avenues you can certainly take to.
So from those two aspects, whether the gray area relative to early successional, as well as the fact that it's permissible to log, might open the door, is the way to open the door to potentially just do a little loop around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not creating a meadow. I mean, we're not putting it back as a meadow, really. We're just talking about a walking trail that, probably no more than 3 feet wide, really.
I can't imagine why they wouldn't let you do that.
Mark probably can. That area that you identified, Todd, is pretty much a very open area now. It'd make a nice little spot, but potentially a picnic table. There's a couple fairly substantial, although not real big, hemlocks where you could get some shade or put a table underneath them. All right, I think we've talked about that enough, other than if we want to pursue this, what would the next step be?
I think contacting Danny and seeing if she, getting ourselves organized enough to know what it is that we're proposing.
Okay.
And then contacting her to do a site walk and talk about, or at least talk about it on the phone.
Okay, all right, let's talk about the first one, organize what we're proposing. Do we need to schedule another walk or something relative to the committee to just walk around there and see what we're talking about? Well, what would you consider sufficient definition of what we're proposing, Mark?
Just so you can have a coherent conversation with her.
Oh, no, I know, but what would entail sufficient information to talk to her? Some sort of a map, the trees, the distances, the specific path. I mean, what do we need?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a planning board application or something where you need to have engineered drawings. But yeah, it would probably help her if we had a little sketch of what it was we had in mind.
Okay. I think I can do that. The, like on Gaia, I mean, your stuff is a whole lot better, Mark, but on Gaia, I can create a track and have that be located relative to, the specific geographic areas. Is that kind of stuff with some verbiage to identify, the diameter of the trees and the distance, et cetera? Is that what you got in mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd probably be better off if we can lure her out for a site walk. I think that would probably be the more direct route.
Okay, that'd be much simpler than trying to do that. All right. Do you have contact info for her? I
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, I do.
Hopefully, it works better than Tim's. We'll talk about that in a second. All right, so send me that, and I'll contact Danielle. Because that'd be a nice thing, and that would be a much simpler thing than we had talked about relative to Jassy, quote unquote, Jassy's Meadow. We, I don't parenthetically called it Jassy's Loop or something down there, but it would still preserve that the name and be just as notable as far as recognition of Jassy's contributions go. All right, send me that and I'll contact Danielle. So that's it on Jassy's Meadow. Two things that we had on there: fixed stone culvert on the Canesto and the bridge over the Canesto. I've tried contacting Tim via the phone that you gave me, Mark. I've tried contacting him via email. Both of those were, is it Dunn State Park? What is that over there? Is it Dunn State Park?
Yeah.
Okay. Both of those Dunn State Park media connections. Tim has not responded to either. A couple days ago, I do have Danielle, Joel's. I do have Joel Vauteur's personal phone and contact email. And I send her a note saying, is there another way to contact Tim? So how do we get a hold of Tim? She hasn't, Joel has not responded to me as of yet, but it seems pretty difficult to get through to Tim. Yes, no? Is that your experience too?
Yeah, it's always been hit or miss.
Has he got like a Tim Culkeen contact info? Because that's just what I had. When I got through to a reception was just the Dunn State Park answering system. So
yeah, but you got his direct email, and he wasn't responding to that either, huh?
no. And maybe Joel will have like his personal cell or something that should be able to provide. So I don't know any other way to get in contact with him. And I think relative to here's a plus note relative to the financial aspects of both of those. I think there is. I would put it in about the 95% category that we can get maybe up to $2,000 to $3,000 worth of funding from two horse riding associations. Cross State Trails organization is hosting another ride there this year, and that'll be sometime in June, I think, right? They're well off financially. Bay State Trail Riders has an annual ride there at Mount Jeff, and even though it does not, that does not use that bridge, I am quite sure that we could get them to contribute as well. And they have contributed towards the anti-slip stuff, rubber mats, etc. Bay State Trail Riders has contributed in the past to fixing up trails, and their Bay State in particular is very well endowed financially. So if I can get through to them, I mean, if we can get the okay from Tim,
Bought some land.
then we
They bought some land.
can do things financially that will not utilize any of our existing financial resources. So the hang up right now is just trying to get through to Tim, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
But, oh, go ahead.
the other possibility is just driving over there and rattling his cage.
Oh, does he, is it, my thought on it was maybe because of, although that would be the opposite, I guess. My thought was that maybe because of COVID or something that the office wasn't active or something.
Well, it's not open to the public, but that is where he hangs out.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not far. We can do that. All right. We'll try and go visit him.
The pop in.
What's that?
The
Bob,
pop
are you,
in.
Susan?
Bob, are you sure Cross State is this summer? Do you know that?
I know
mean-
that, yeah, and I actually saw that on the Concom agenda.
I thought I saw that was gonna be October, but
That's
that might be
Bay
Bay State, I guess, right?
Bay State is in October. Cross State holds 2 major rides. It's
And so June or May before,
it's in June.
because they're not gonna be using that bridge, so they're really gonna have to use the access on
Well,
the left thing.
It may be pushing it to try and get that done with the kind of funding that they can supply. It would make available purchasing 2 4-foot by 16-foot sections of fiberglass grating, which would certainly support the activities that go on there.
Do you have their contact information then, Lacey? I don't know her last name.
Not
The-
just
the-
Lacey, we
the-
have Edie McNamara. She's running the ride this time. Lacey ran it last time, but Edie's.
Oh, okay. All right. Because it would be great if that could be the catalyst for getting that done. And if they're willing to come up with some bucks, everybody wins, right?
And this will go back to Mark. I mean, that bridge is at this point literally dangerous.
Yes, it's, no.
In fact, we were fortunate. We rode it, but we had one young rider that couldn't control a horse, and I think I said this at the last meeting. And the pony did go back across that bridge, but did not step into a hole or something on it. But we do need Tim's permission to put something like that right on top of the bridge, even though it's a severe safety issue.
Well, I mean, you can always. You can always,
Ask for forgiveness.
yeah, I mean, that's always an option, I guess.
Well, there'd be rationale for it in this case. It's certainly not disturbing anything, and it is certainly a serious safety issue at this point.
Well, in fact, not only is it not disturbing anything, it's keeping the side path we use to get across the creek from being further eroded.
Because that's 80 horses, 80 to 90, at least it was 2 years ago. So that's a lot of hooves.
Why do they go up that way? Where do they go crossing that bridge?
They come down,
They enter the state forest from Sawyer's Field. What they have done is they've rented, leased, whatever financial agreement, and Ray Sawyer Sawyer Farm gets some remuneration out of it.
Okay, so that's
So
the main entrance to the rest of the trail system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the
Ecotourism.
eco-tour, well, that is kind of ecotourism.
Yes, it is. And they need more places to eat and stuff.
It is. No, it certainly is. It provides money to Ray Sawyer and any other amenities that they acquire within the town. So there certainly would be some stuff, but at least the Sawyer Farms gets money out of that. So I'll go over there, and if I can't see Tim, then maybe within the context of this is a serious safety issue, we'll at least proceed. I can at least, as a minimum, contact Cross State and Bay State, and the way they do it, like as with most other things, is a reimbursement scenario. So I will describe to them what we're doing. They would even pay for the culvert pipe, which would probably be a few $100s. It's not nearly as expensive as the fixing that bridge, but probably a 12-inch diameter double wall HDPE culvert pipe would be certainly sufficient to fix that stone culvert. They'd pay for that as well. My guess on that, that's fairly expensive stuff, but it would be in the range of $200 to $300 for that. So I'll keep the ball rolling, and I'll go over to Dunn and maybe even called Joelle to see if because I have her phone number as well, to see if there's another way to contact Tim. So that was it on the bridge over the Canesto and the culvert down there and the foundation, Jesse's Meadow. So we talked about all those things. Any other things to be brought up under new business for the committee?
How about some more old business? Geordie Lane, didn't we talk about a mid-June walk when the laurel is out? I have it down for June 15th. Am I making that up, guys? Mark, you suggested it, didn't you? Because you said the laurel will be out depending on the weather.
I did. And depending on how your conversation goes tomorrow night, Bob, feel free to issue a invitation.
Okay, that was June 15th. Is that what we set aside for that?
It might have been the 15th. Well, what day of the week is that?
Tuesday.
It might have been that just because we picked a day in the middle of the month. This is a placeholder.
Yeah.
I can't imagine we get too many people on a walk on a business day.
I mean, if they, did you ask Mallory to send it around to them?
Yes, but whether she will and whether they read it or not is two different things. But she said she would disseminate that plan. So
Was that just today?
That's not when I sent it to her. It was today that I did get the acknowledgement that she would send it around. I had sent that out maybe twice or something to her.
Yeah.
But,
all right. So I won't have looked at that tomorrow night. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, it would be nice. It would be nice to have a joint committee stomp around there.
Well, you got a suggestion for a date other than the middle of the week, Mark, or do you think a middle of the week would be okay?
I don't really know.
Because in the conversation, I can at least propose something.
Yeah, I think I don't know what Tony Coppola does, but the Larsons, I think they probably work. Might be better off. Let's see.
In the middle of the month, you got somewhat in the middle. You got 6/13.
Saturday the 12th or Saturday the 19th.
Okay. Yeah, and my guess from what I've observed relative to the committee is the takers you might get from that maybe only one or two, but
Yeah.
I can offer those two dates tomorrow night.
Sure.
All right. Okay. That's, any other new business? You won't get any feedback on the, on your grant, Mark, until what, late June, July?
Well, the end of this month at the earliest. Depending on how they're doing in COVID this year. Historically, the notifications came out late May, but yeah, it could be any time in June, I suppose.
Okay, that sounds good. All right. Anything else?
Susan's looking at her
You
calendar.
know, I've got the calendar in my hand and technically, we would be scheduled for the last Tuesday in May, which is the 25th. So do we want to stick with that or move into June or what?
When is the town meeting and any other related events then?
Well, June 1st, then the following Tuesday at 6:30 at Center School.
We'll meet after that.
June 1st
The
is,
meeting,
yeah,
yes, Tuesday.
wouldn't want to move it out to a town meeting night. And maybe having it before town meeting might be appropriate.
So stick with the 25th then, May 25, that Tuesday, last Tuesday? Why not, right? Does that work for everybody?
And Bob will avoid having any more wisdom teeth taken out since they're all gone. So, yeah, so we'll set the next meeting for Tuesday, May 25th.
Okay,
And that would be a good time too, just relative to activities associated with the bridge, because that ride coming up, it would be nice to, particularly for that bridge, the ride is in June, so probably somewhere in the mid-June range. I don't know what you know.
Yeah, I think it's at the end of June.
At the end of June, but that would give us 3 to 4 weeks prior to the end of that June to revisit the status on resolving the safety issue on that bridge. So, all right, so next meeting will be June 25th. Anything else?
May 25th.
May 25th, attaboy, Todd.
thank you, Todd.
Steph whispered in one ear and Todd whispered in the other ear.
I move to adjourn.
All right, do we hear a second?
Second.
All right, second by Todd. Do I hear any objections to adjourning the meeting? Hearing none, I will consider the meeting adjourned. Thanks all, very good.